Imagine living thousands of years ago with no phones, no watches, and no telescopes. Yet somehow, people back then could tell when the next season would start, when an eclipse would come, and when it was time to plant crops. They didn't have modern technology, but they had something better: patience, observation, and a deep connection with the sky. These ancient people were not guessing. They knew the stars, they tracked their movements, and they built tools and monuments that could still work even today. Number 1. The sky was their calendar. Before books or clocks existed, the sky was everything. Ancient humans noticed patterns. The sun rose and set. The moon changed shape. And certain stars appeared only at special times of the year. They started linking these changes to events on Earth. For example, when a certain star appeared before dawn, they knew it was time to prepare fields for planting. When that same star vanished from the sky, they knew the season of rain or harvest was near. This connection between sky and life made astronomy the oldest science in human history. People were not just staring at the sky for beauty, they were surviving because of it. Over time, the study of the sky turned into a kind of timekeeping system. The sun became the clock of the day, the moon became the calendar of the month, and the stars became the markers of the year. Number 2. Stonehenge, the giant clock of stone. One of the most famous examples in ancient astronomy is Stonehenge in England. Built between 3000 and 1500 BC, this circle of giant stones looks mysterious, but it had a very practical purpose. When the sun rises on the longest day of the year, it shines directly through the main stones at Stonehenge. That told ancient people the exact day of the summer solstice, the start of a new season. To us, this might seem simple, but imagine building a structure so precise that it marks the turning point of the year, all without computers or even metal tools. Stonehenge worked like a calendar. It showed when winter would end, when crops should be planted, and when to celebrate the new year. Stonehenge reminds us that early humans were not just builders. They were thinkers, planners, and sky watchers who turned stones into science. Number 3. The Berlin Gold Hat, a calendar you could wear. In 1996, archaeologists discovered something strange: a tall cone-shaped hat made of thin gold, now called the Berlin Gold Hat. It dates back to around 1800 BC. At first, people thought it was just a ceremonial crown for a priest or king, but when researchers studied the tiny patterns and symbols engraved on it, they found something incredible. These markings were not random decorations. They represented a calendar. The hat showed how to calculate the positions of the sun and moon, and even track the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period when the lunar and solar calendars realign perfectly. Imagine wearing a hat that could tell you when to hold festivals, when the next harvest would come, and how long until the next new moon. The person who wore it was probably not just a leader, but also an astronomer, someone responsible for keeping time for the entire community. This shows how closely science and religion were linked in ancient times. The person who could read the sky often became the one who led the people. Number 4. The Antikythera Mechanism, the first astronomical computer. In 1901, divers found a mysterious bronze object inside an old Greek shipwreck near the island of Antikythera. It was covered in rust and coral, but when scientists cleaned it, they found gears, wheels, and markings, like something from a machine. This became known as the Antikythera Mechanism, and it dates back to around 100 to 200 BC. When scientists studied it, they realized it was the world's first mechanical computer. It would predict solar and lunar eclipses, track the positions of planets. The mechanism used dozens of small gears that turned into a perfect ratio, like a clock. It's hard to believe such a device existed over 2,000 years ago. Modern researchers say it would take centuries for Europe to build anything as advanced again after the Roman Empire fell. The Antikythera Mechanism proves that ancient Greek astronomers were not just curious observers. They were engineers who could turn cosmic cycles into precise machines. Number 5. The astrolabe, the ancient smartphone of the sky. Before compasses or GPS, travelers needed a way to know where they were and what time it was. The astrolabe solved that problem. The word astrolabe comes from the Greek and means star taker. It was a circular metal plate with small rotating dials and markings. By aligning the dials with certain stars or the sun, a person could find their latitude, time of day, or even when the sun would rise or set. In other words, it was the smartphone of the ancient world. Sailors, scholars, and explorers carried it everywhere. It helped them navigate deserts, seas, and cities long before modern tools existed. The astrolabe was popular for more than 1,000 years, used across Greece, the Islamic world, and medieval Europe. It was a mix of science and art, beautiful to look at, but incredibly useful. Through it, people learned that the sky could guide them not just spiritually, but physically, leading them across oceans and empires. Number 6. The lunar and solar cycles, predicting time and eclipses. Ancient astronomers noticed something fascinating: the patterns of the moon and sun repeated in cycles. They discovered that a solar year, from one spring to the next, didn't perfectly match 12 lunar months. That difference created small errors in calendars, so they began studying how the two could align again. They found that every 19 years, the solar and lunar calendars matched up perfectly again. This was the Metonic cycle. It helped ancient societies fix their calendars, especially for festivals and religious events. Another important pattern was the Saros cycle, about 6,600 days or 18 years and 11 days. This cycle predicted when eclipses would happen. Even without knowing about gravity or orbital mechanics, ancient people noticed that after this period, another eclipse would occur. They could not tell if it would be full or partial, but they knew when to expect it. These cycles connected the heavens to human life, turning the sky into a giant, predictable calendar. Number 7. The Ivory Tusk and Orion, Astronomy in Prehistory. Long before written language, some of the first humans were already recording the stars. Archaeologists found a carved mammoth tusk in Germany dated to around 30,000 BC. On one side was a figure shaped like a man. His pose matched the shape of the constellation Orion. On the other side, there were 86 small marks. Some scientists think these marks represent days or lunar phases. Here's the fascinating part. The star Betelgeuse, which forms Orion's shoulder, is visible in that region for exactly 86 days each year. So the people who carved this might have been recording the connection between the stars and human life, perhaps even linking it to the cycle of pregnancy or harvest. If true, this would be the oldest known calendar in the world. Even before civilization began, people were already watching the sky, finding patterns and using them to make sense of life on Earth. Number 8. Why ancient astronomy mattered. To ancient people, watching the stars wasn't just curiosity. It was survival. The stars told them when to plant crops, when to migrate, when floods would come, and when to celebrate new beginnings. They used the sky as a clock, a compass, and even a religious symbol. From Stonehenge to Greece to prehistoric caves, every culture looked up and found meaning. The stars united humans across time and continents. Astronomy shaped agriculture, religion, and science. It gave birth to calendars, architecture, and even myths. When you think about it, these ancient astronomers laid the foundation for everything we know today, from satellites to space telescopes. They built the first tools that made sense of the universe. They did it without electricity, computers, or telescopes, just with patience, logic, and curiosity. Even today, our lives still follow the same cosmic rhythm: sunrise and sunset, months and seasons, eclipses and tides. So maybe those ancient people were not that different from us. They just used the sky instead of screens. What do you think? Were ancient humans smarter than we give them credit for?